Good morning. Happy Monday. Hopefully you had a fantastic weekend. And today we're doing a exercise lab. And the exercise that I'm going to be going over is the exercise that so many people love to hate. And that is the burpee. And the reason being why it's a easy exercise to hate is because it actually gets your heart rate up really, really high, and that's because your arms are up over your head. So I'm going to give you a whole bunch of different options to play with, because here's the thing: women love to want to say that they can either they can't do the exercise perfectly, so they get down on themselves. So the thing about exercise is that you've got to make it work for you. So that's why there's a whole pile of variations that I'm going to show you to make the exercise work, because as much as people love to hate this exercise, it's actually a great exercise. Okay, so I'm going to cover top half variations, so the top half of your body variations and the bottom half variations. So you kind of do a little bit of a combination of piecing things together to make it work for you. And when I do this exercise, oftentimes I start with the hardest exercise, and as I get tired, I start to digress, as you could say. Make it a little easier, and just get yourself through this exercise, okay? So I'm going to show you the actual exercise and I'll work from there. So you actually start with your hands up in the air, and if you're on a mat, you want to be at the top of your mat because you're going to be kicking back, so you want to make sure you've got some space behind you. So the exercise is a vertical jump, and then you're going to drop down. So you can see I'm going to squat, hands down. Inhale, exhale, kick your legs back into a plank, pop forward into a low squat, and jump back up. Okay, so that's the exercise. However, for a lot of women, they can't get down to the floor. So I'm going to show you some options here. Well, first of all, I'm going to show you with an easier option first, without any equipment. So you can negate the jump just by having your hands up, and you want your legs nice and wide. When I say wide as you need to go to get your butt down low, and it looks like this. So my down low, squatting down, and I'm going to step back, taking out that jump up, still in a plank. Step forward, my legs are nice and wide, get my bum as low as it can go, pushing through the heels, and stand up. Okay, so what most people tend to do wrong when they do this exercise, whether it's the fast version, doesn't matter which version it is, they like to do this. Okay, they bend down with your bum up really, really high, hopping or stepping back, and then feet too close together that my bum ends up being really high, then I'm lifting with my back. Okay, this exercise is a heart rate exercise. You can hear I'm already out of breath. And as well, you want to push from your hips. This is the largest muscle group. This is what you want it to work, is your glutes, and less about your low back. So if you happen to be on here live, please come say hi. Okay, so legs are wide. Okay, I'll show it to you this way. I'm going to have to move up a little bit because I'm going to hit my screen. Squat down, hop or step back. Legs are still wide. You can have your legs narrow here if you like. Hop or step forward. My legs are wide. Push to the heels, or a little vertical at the top. Okay, so if you have difficulty getting down onto the floor or getting into a low squat, you've got some options here. You can use blocks, and you can just place them down here at the bottom of your mat. Okay, so this way you don't have to get your hips so low or you get your hands down so low. Same thing, your butt needs to go down. Hop or step back, hop or step forward, legs are wide, and come up. Okay, if you are using the block, it's very important that when you are down here, that your weight is directly over your wrist. You don't want to be back here. That's another mistake that a lot of people do, a lot of ladies do, is that their shoulders are actually behind the wrist. Okay, and what does that mean? It means that you're not engaging your abs and all the weight is in your toes. Okay, so when you're here, you can see that all my weight is in my toes versus here. And what that does is it engages your abs more. So it's really important that when you hop or step back, that you don't jump back like this with your hips up in the air. Okay, and my shoulders behind the wrist. All right, so I'm just going to do this again. So I'm down low, hopper step back into a plank. And see how my shoulders don't move? That's what you want, okay? If you're using the block and you start moving back and forth, or worse, sideways, you might knock this block over, and that's not a very good idea. Same thing, especially if you're using the high block, okay, on the highest level, it's very important that you keep your weight right over top of those blocks. Jump up, hopper step back into a plank, hop forward into a squat, jump up, okay? So you can use blocks. Other options, if you don't happen to have blocks, is you can use dumbbells. Now, these aren't very high. Some of the more, because these are stackable weights, because I only have 5 pounds here. But if you have regular weights, okay, that are a little bit heavier than 5, they tend to sit up a little bit higher and it can act as a block, right? So same thing, you put them down here on the floor, do your burpee, squat down into a nice strong plank, hop forward into a squat, and back up, okay? So that's the weighted version with it sitting on the floor to help you with not having to go down so low. That makes it easier. The other option is if you happen to have a coffee table like this one here, you can do the same thing, okay? Hopper step back. It's definitely easier for sure because the table's up a little bit higher, okay? So if you want to make it more challenging for yourself, you can use the weights as part of your burpee. So that means I'm going to press, I'm going to squat down, hopper step back, hopper step forward, squat and press. So if you notice when I do this, the weight stays close to my body and I'm still squatting down nice and low, okay? The other mistake that happens when we do the burpee, especially when you're jumping back, is that we're not engaging the abs enough. A lot of people hurt themselves in their low back because of this. So this is what I mean. You do the burpee, whether it's hopping or stepping, and this is what happens. And you start sagging through the hips. That's all into your low back. So it's really important to inhale, exhale, tuck your belly button in, keep it tucked in, and then step back. It's going to ensure that you engage those abs. Okay, so this is a full body exercise, and it's really important to make this exercise work for you because 1, it can be very challenging, and 2, you can really hurt yourself, and that's no fun. Okay, and some other options that you can do for this exercise is having a little band like this and placing it, putting it on just above your knees. Now, this is a slightly tighter band. Same thing, it's going to work your hips more. So there's so many things that you can do with this burpee that makes it much more fun, I guess you could say. So I've got the band on, and I'm going to I'm going to jump up, or you can step back. I'm going to squat down, drop my bum nice and low so that I'm sitting on my heels, kick back into a plank. I'm going to squeeze that band, squeezing my hips, hopper step forward, my butt stays nice and low. My weight is in my heels and a vertical. Okay, so that's going to work the hips. Other variations that you can do, if you want to progress from there, is you can keep the band on or you can keep the band off. Doesn't matter. So these are just variations that you can play with. I'm going to do a press. I'm going to squat down. I'm going to hop back. I'm going to do a row on one side, a row on the other side, hopper step forward. Make sure your butt's nice and low. And a little vertical. Now, these are only 5-pound weights, hence I can jump, okay? So those are just the variations you can play with. I can add a whole bunch more, but I think that's enough for today because there's lots there to play with. So it's really important, if I have to say, to make this exercise work for you, engage the abs and get your hips nice and low and your legs wide enough that you can get yourself down here and hopping or stepping back. All right, so if you have any questions about the burpee, you can tell me if you love it or if you hate it. And if these variations gave you some options in terms of maybe beginning to like it a little more. All right, so let me know down here below in the comments, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.